float universe. How long have we known of each other's existence?
I think around maybe 2015. I started the Instagram account in 2014. So if you were doing the float tanks around that time, I found you and I followed every float center. So I,
Yeah.
I was aware of your existence probably around 2014, 15 at the latest. So over 10 years,
Yeah.
11, something like that. 26. Wow, it is over 10 years.
It's a long time
Yeah,
to follow anybody and listen to what they say or what they think about in the world.
indeed. I mean, we both had highs and lows over the past 10 years with the float world. You got stories, I've got stories for sure.
Yeah.
Interesting
Yeah.
world to be in the past 10 years.
Yeah, absolutely. Forget the context. Well, no, let's do it. No, we're just gonna skip with the preamble because a number of the things that I want to talk with you today about are the power of memes. And all of us look at memes. If you're an adult with you and you have social media, you see memes. And over the course of the last 10 years, maybe plus, that I've been following you, I've found the memes that you post to be the most dynamic, the most interesting, the most provocative, the most multi-layered. And so I wanted to dive into meme magic with you.
Absolutely.
What can you tell us about the power of memes?
I mean, if you can do it right, you can almost have instant virality. I've had it a few times with memes. What I'm struggling with now is it's becoming less memes and more reels, more video content based. And I almost feel like memes are dying out, but a very powerful form where you can distill something powerful into, I mean, I don't know who says the quote, but if you can really break something down into like something sophisticated and dense and you can distill it down to its essence and get that idea across, that's real genius to me. So to be able to take complex ideas, whether it's spirituality or what is floating or something political going on, if you can distill that into something and then hit the funny bone too, because that's another important part. I mean, you can also, I mean, rage bait now is popular. It's really devolving in a way I didn't think it would. Like to be viral now, you almost have to put errors in your spelling or create something that's going to enrage someone where they're going to respond to it because the algorithm responds to people commenting or liking or sharing, and so people have discovered that, hey, if I could just make a spelling error, I'll have 10 people in the comment section saying, oh, you spelled this wrong. Or like, for example, one of the ones I hate the most is 5 facts about whatever thing, and they only give you like 4 facts, and you got 100 people in the comments saying, where is the 5th thing? So it's about rage bait and content engagement at this point. But the essence of a great meme to me is something that's timeless, something that you can instantly, something we all can connect with. It's not super niche. There is a lot of niche memes out there that within their subgroups can garner the attention of the subgroup, but to go worldwide, to hit the funny bone of something we all have in common, that's the goal. That's what I would try to do. And a lot of the best memes you'll put out there are afterthoughts. Like if you put too much effort into crafting it, it won't go anywhere. Or if you're over the, like, I experienced this a lot in 2020, where if you're over the target, you might be able to hit that mark and connect with people, but you're going to get banned. Whether it's vaccines or mask mandates or all that other stuff we've been through. I had a great run from, I don't know, I started in 2014 to 2020, and then 2020 I really lost about half my audience. I stood on the fence for a while because I want to connect with everyone, but at a certain point you got to say, okay guys, this is what I believe here and this is the direction I'm going. In my case it was, don't do the vaccine, don't, the mask is stupid, don't do any of this stuff, and you're going to lose people. So it's been, trying to be more in that state of oneness over the past few years as we move away from that event. But I had a great run from 2014 to 2020. But yeah,
Well,
virality. Go
yeah,
ahead.
No, you're still running. Don't get it twisted, man. It's not like it's an afterthought, because I've watched your numbers grow. I've watched your followers grow. I've watched you, tear down your tear down your account and restart it. I've seen you, edit. Now you have what, five five posts on your history, and six posts, pardon me.
Yeah,
And
at one point I had 18,000. So at the peak of all the content on there, I'd, and a lot of those weren't mine. It was a lot of reposted stuff, but I'd say 10,000 plus original, memes over the past 10 years.
that is
Like,
a mountain. That's a mountain of content. And there's so many different directions we could go, Float, because I think I pay close attention to culture, to masculinity, to um, the milieu, like you do. I feel like I'm on the front foot, and
zeitgeist.
the zeitgeist. Not much gets by me now. The the ability to zig when others are zagging, but keep people with you, bring them in on the joke, and also inform them and make them laugh, and instigate a sort of a thoughtful response from people. I do in my own way, not not very well,
Well,
but
you were recommending dry fasting during holiday season. It's
that's right.
pretty brave.
Yeah, right. Yeah, everybody's in their yeah. People are in their fourth day. Today actually is the conclusion of the dry fast with the group, the international group. So they'll break their 5 day dry fast in about 7 hours. Um, and again, like things like this, I think are important, and I think I want to promote, and I want to talk about. I want to interview people. I want to share information, and that comes at a cost. It comes at a risk. I
Oh
the
yeah.
same censorship that you've experienced. Uh, a lot of us have experienced, who drew a line and said, "Okay, I'm not going to stand for this. I'm not going to go along with this." So I've been pulled off of YouTube twice from an interview with David Avocado Wolf, where we
Hmm.
talked about archons, and um, we talked about reptilians and parasites, turtles all the way down,
Yeah.
masks and vaccines and stuff like that. And that level of censorship, I think it takes someone who has thick skin and has the ability to kind of predict where culture is going. So my question is, in the world of culture, and there's a couple of different narrow spots that I want to kind of go down with you. Where is culture? You've got your finger on the pulse of what's going on and what people are thinking about. Where is culture going now, in this sort of, like, now that we're getting into the Trump era in the West? Like, what's relevant for people?
That's tough to say. With the big thing is the domination of AI and AI slop feeds, and just, for me, even having my mom will send me a video, and I'm like, this is fake, and it's getting to the point where I'm like really having to dig deep, look in the comments. It's getting almost indistinguishable from reality. So that's and the ability, if you can write a good prompt, you can have you can make a music video, you can make you can make it make I sometimes will see what Grok thinks about a meme concept. I will sometimes run my thoughts through Grok and say, put this in a meme form, and I get basically infinite iterations of something that I might have to take. I have a thought about something going on politically, or an idea I want to express about spirituality, and manually doing it through these little apps on the phone and typing out the header and finding the images. I might be able to make two or three variations of a theme in an hour, whereas Grok can do 1,000 in 5 minutes. And then I can just go through those and say, okay, this is the closest thing I want to what I was trying to convey. So where it's going is anyone's guess at this point. I think there's going to be a lot of people that are going to just, like people, like photography, for example. There's still people that want to do a dark room. There's still people that want to mess with film. And the majority are just doing digital, and it's just easier. It's more cost effective, but it's art versus, I don't know, mass commercialization. Sometimes as an artist, you sacrifice the, like the craftsmanship for, hey, I'm just going to get this idea out there and see where it goes. I think what's important for me, and what hits the most is honesty and realness. And so in an era that things are going to get more fake and more indistinguishable from, did a human make this? This is a human idea. I think just being genuine and being honest, it'll still be conveyed. But in terms of your question of where this is going, and it's hard for me. I can just say, look, make videos. It's getting harder and harder because the apps don't push pictures; they push reels. So you have to say, okay, and then you see this trend of people putting mistakes or rage baiting, so they get content engagement. I still say stick to the genuine, and being genuine, you're going to always lose people going forward. But a lot of people will come back and say, hey, you know what? You were right about the vaccines, or you're right about these things. I might have lost you a couple years ago, but I realized you were right, and I'm coming back. So just be honest, stay focused on the honest truth. And I mean, I don't know where it's going. If I did, I would be rich, or uh, I'm playing catch up a lot of times. I'm saying, oh shit, I like it took me about 6 months to figure out, and I saw someone today. They're like, you need to be making reels. You need to be making 10 to 12 reels a month, and each platform. Like for example, TikTok just got demonetized. Like these people are making thousands of dollars a month on TikTok. TikTok was just bought out a couple months ago by Western interests. It was Chinese run app, but now the West, aka things I won't talk about on this program, but interests that are adverse to the advancement of a Western civilization have invested a significant amount in TikTok. And just recently, they demonetized it. Now, TikTok has never been good to me, whether it was Chinese owned or Western owned. So I got banned on TikTok a few times. I've tried coming back, and it just every time I get something viral, it would be taken down and my account would be punished. So I said, to hell with this. And that's another thing I had to deal with is you can be right on top of it, and you can have like why am I going to spend all this time making all this great content when nobody's going to see it, and I'm going to be punished for putting it out there? So I don't know. It's and a lot of times I think it's recently it's like a race to the bottom, especially with the
Mm.
AI slop. And again, it's only people are motivated via the money, and because the apps reward certain behavior, which is AI slop and rage bait, content engagement via not the most honest methods. It's very hard for someone who's trying to play it straight.
Yeah.
Um, and again, like one of the issues I'm facing is because it's videos now. If I want to be out there and be viral, I gotta put my face out there. Or what I hate is these people that I'm kind of anti AI in a way where I don't want somebody to be able to make a copy of me and just put whatever they want through my mouth. So I'm kind of hesitant with where this is going, which is
Mm.
kind of why I'm kind of behind. Which I don't want my mom seeing me on her Facebook account, scrolling through her account and seeing me, and then seeing me saying something that I never even said.
Selling dick pills or something.
That too, and that's the other thing. It's so monetized. It's I kind of just still do the memes for the love of it, and they can still go viral. And my biggest accomplishment in terms of a meme is when I see it years later. I see
Ah.
it. I'm scrolling Facebook. I'm scrolling Instagram, and it's an account I don't even follow. And there is one of my memes. Still 5, 6, 7, 9, 10 years later, still going strong because there's a universality to it. There's a
Yeah.
something we all relate to. Like certain things in spirituality are going to be with us forever. Certain things about mushrooms or novel concepts like the float tanks is still not a people. Not one of the reasons the float stuff, and I haven't made as much float content as I used to be. It's such a novel niche thing that even to this day I run into people like, oh, what are you talking about? I've never heard of that before.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah. I think I feel the same way that you do. Even though I'm doing selfie videos every single day on Instagram, lots of reels, lots of direct to camera stuff. And I've dipped my toe in the TikTok water, especially with the dry fast content that has done okay. When I was really consistent, the last time I did a dry fast, I posted daily updates multiple times a day about, hey, I haven't had food or water. This is day 4 of no food and water. This is what's going on. Like that did okay, and it didn't get censored. But I will not post pictures of my children on the internet.
Oh, definitely not. Yeah.
Like my kids are 9 and 12. There's maybe 3 or 4 photos of them from when they were really teeny tiny before I decided like, nah, I'm not gonna play that. I'm not gonna post their pictures on the internet before they have a choice or a say in the matter. But I I think you're right. I think that the stuff that resonates most with people is true or will always be true. These, myth, legend, spirituality, death, enlightenment, those things are always going to be relevant, and it will switch away. People will kind of lose their way and then come back, and then lose their way and come back. I wanted to ask you, you said that you did have people come back around and say, "Hey man, you were right. This I got duped." Because I have not experienced that yet. I have not
Oh
I have not
yeah.
I don't have a single person, including people in my family, that were like, "Sean, you were right. The vaccines were bad. The masks were bad." Like I'm glad you got some validation.
I mean, it is validation ultimately. 99 times out of 100, I've been validated, and a lot of times I won't get any credit or anybody acknowledging it. But I do get time to times DMs from people that are like, "Hey, I used to follow your podcast, and you said something I disagreed with." Well, let's say it was vaccines. For that was a big one, vaccines. I was always, like, not a good idea. Let's hold off at a minimum. Just hold off. But I was really ultimately really against it, and I'm like, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. And a lot of people that didn't do it, and they saw friends or family that did do it. These are the people that came around and said, you know what, I'm so glad I listened to you, because I took a lot of shit for it. A lot of people that stuck their neck out for it, which is where I had this, but it's me being honest though. Like what I can really tell a grifter from a truth, a real truth, because there's a lot of people in the truther community that will get on the grift, man. They won't. They might initially have good intentions, but they see the money in it, and they'll follow something even then they know it's a grift. I've never monetized my situation, and that's one of the reasons why I can sit in this position and say I'm not a grifter, because I've never offered anything where you pay me money, or there's a subscription service, or I did a Patreon for 2 months, and it was like $2, and you got a bunch of extra podcast content, to be entertained. But I was never, hey, take it or leave it. This is who I am. These are the ideas. I think they're true. And also being honest, hey, I was wrong about certain things. I admit I was wrong. Or maybe you shouldn't do this. Like I've kind of walked back psychedelics a little bit because, the first 5 or 6 years of this account, when I was heavily doing them, I was promoting them. And then, after you take a step back, hindsight's always 2020. Some people shouldn't take these things. Some people should, hesitate when smoking DMT, or high doses of acid, or certain kinds of diets. I've never been a big pusher of a diet, because my thing is, hey, your body is unique. You're a unique bag of chemicals. What's going to work for them may not work for you. It may work for you. So I've never had a hard on for that kind of stuff. But I have had moments where I have, like the QAnon stuff, big into the QAnon stuff when it was happening. And
Right.
I still think there are parts of it that are valid and legitimate, but in terms of how it's panned out, how it's played out, I've had to walk some of that back. I've had to say, hey, you know what? I was probably wrong about these things. I was duped. And that's the other thing. You got to be honest in the delivering. And then you got to be honest saying, hey, you know what? I was wrong. And a lot of people, because they have they have a vested interest in getting paid, they are not going to walk it back, or they're going to lie to their audience. So I think that's been one of the key factors is people like really like what I do. And I have, if I wanted to be, I could be a cult leader, or I
Yeah, you did.
could, but I just can't. I can't, karmically do that. I'm karmically bound, where I'm like, that's let one thing you don't want to do with a spiritual, leadership role like that. It's supposedly really bad karma to walk people off a cliff spiritually, knowingly.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, but there's a lot of grifters out there, and a lot of people pushing. Another thing, I've never wanted to do advertising. I've never been really offered too much in advertising, because the content's been too marginal, and But just be honest. Honesty is the best policy.
Yeah. People are going to gravitate, they're going to kind of come and go based on what continues to resonate with them. And if you are a fan of Float Universe and you've been following Float for a long time, but then you have kids. You may gravitate away from that type of content. I can't deal the samsara stuff.
I
Right?
see
Like,
that. I see that all the time where it's like, why did this? I look sometimes down my followers list of people I'm usually following back, and I'm like, why did this person unfollow? But I'm like, oh, I just went on a 6 week, run of, and like for example, I just quit weed. I'm almost at 60 days of no
nice.
smoking weed after doing it basically nonstop for 14 years, and there's a lot of people that don't want to hear that. And these
Yeah.
are and these are some of the people too that are like, hey, I've come back to you because you were right about weed. I didn't want to admit it at the time. I was so triggered by your content, but I was actually addicted to weed, and I examined what you were saying, and I took some time, and I realized I too had a problem, and I'm sorry for sending you a nasty DM or unfollowing. So it's basically been the vaccines and the weed stuff where I've had people come back and say, hey, you know what, you were right. Weed can be addictive because I'm not, in my experience, it's more psychological than physical. The physical dependency lasts a week to maybe a month at the longest, and I'm still recovering from 14 years. You're not going to depickle a cucumber overnight if it's even possible. But I've just be honest, and even when you fuck up, be honest. That's and people are very forgiving too. So that's been why I have a bunch of diehards that have been with me since 2014.
Yeah. Yeah, they'll the season, a lot can change in 10 years, and if your lifestyle changes or your life situation changes or you get a new job, you're gonna, the way that you consume media is gonna shift, and as seasons of your life change, you go back to things that resonate at the deepest level, that myth, um, legend. I'm big on Joseph Campbell and the hero's journey, which is really, it's really everything. It's life. It's this incarnational wheel that we're all on. Is this another journey, another hill to climb, another dragon to slay? That stuff is always going to be there. It will always ring true. And if people are offended by your position on masking, or don't want to acknowledge the fact that they're addicted to weed, and then they kind of come around on that, they can always come back. And one thing that I think that you and I have in common is this pursuit of truth, the pursuit of awareness and understanding. And it's gray. It's not binary. It's not. The people who I have watched who are not that interesting, or maybe don't work very hard, or my opinion, I just don't resonate with the stuff that they're putting out. A lot of it is like really sensational. It's one way or the other. They're all in on this thing or all in on that thing, and that's what gets clicks, and that's what grows your audience. And I have never been that. This podcast has never been that. And I think that you're similar. Like, you're okay, you're considering opposing ideas and then finding something interesting to say about it. And that's just not what blows accounts up and gets popular.
That's something to contend with, and it's also how I judge. Okay, like for example, I'll put a concept out there that I'm pretty centered on. At least I think I'm centered on the concept, and I'll put the concept out there, and I'll realize, wait a minute, the collective, right? Because another thing about this account, me, has always been this mirrored experience with the audience. The reflections of self in other people, and when I put something out there that triggers the audience, I'm like, okay. Especially, for example, if it triggers me, if it's triggering me, and I'm able to talk about it and convey it in a meme form, I know it's gonna, because this time around with my weed journey, I haven't been as polarized and triggered with my, is it good, is it bad? I'm really centered in the middle. It can be both. But before, when I tried to quit and I'd put it out there with a really I wasn't anti-weed, but the energy I had behind it, people that were polarized on the opposite side of it got really pissed off because, oh, this is anti weed universe. This is I hate weed universe. and I'm just trying to, at least I thought at the time, a relatively centered positionality. But no, to them, I was a Nazi against weed. I was, the most. But I'm like, no, dude, listen, you have a problem. You're obviously triggered by someone saying that you may have a problem, because I'm not saying you should stop or it's this poison that's going to kill you. I'm saying it may cause psychosis. You may have an addiction with it. it's not my, like you have to deal with where you're at. But no, that's being centered does not get clicks and views.
Right.
To the extent where you're going to make a big name out of it, until you get to the point where you are like Ram Dass level spiritual guru, where you have that much of a following. It doesn't, you don't survive on virality. You just, you have a meaty audience that is consistent.
Yeah.
But yeah, the thing about online content, though, it's like I said, rage bait is polarity based stuff where the information given or the presenter is not centered. One of my
Right.
favorite rage bait things now is every celebrity is either is either a tranny, or they are wearing a mask or something. There's nobody, or like nobody can accept the fact that, hey, some people just look alike, or hey, that woman, that celebrity that you think is a man probably just took a lot of human growth hormone. A lot of these women that get older, they take chemicals to enhance their beauty, or make their youth go longer, but it really makes them look a lot of times very masculine. So it doesn't mean they're transsexual. It doesn't mean that Sandra Bullock is a transsexual. It maybe she took, like they refuse to see other possibilities.
Sure.
It's either they're transsexual, alien overlords, worshiping Baphomet, or nothing. There's no grounds for any kind of conversation. So it's very polarized. And my content used to sit in the middle, and I've gone back to the middle. But yeah, you saw a big shift from 2020 to about 2023, 2024, where I was, hey, you know what? Uh, but now also it's like, it's everybody's saying things I said 10 years ago. So it's like I don't feel like
Yes.
I don't feel like rebellious anymore.
Right. Well, conspiracy. Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. Yeah. Like I read David Icke in college and resonated with it, and am open to the idea of, you know, um, 8 families ruling the planet. So I'm open to that, and I'm considerate of that, but I don't need to keep talking about it. And when that comes around again and it comes up again, it's like, yeah, I'm with you. I've been there, and I'm open to it, but I don't believe that we're on a prison planet, and that, this sort of Gnostic view of like we're stuck here and we can't get out.
Yeah.
I want to go back to weed though, really quick, because weed is now, will always has been, a trigger point for a lot of people. You know, the Are you familiar with the idea of like a master plant in like the ayahuasca sort of
Yeah.
universe of, yeah. Weed is a tricky one, right? Because it obviously has a lot of benefits to a lot of people in its various forms, and the the form and format of the way that people are smoking now is, it's too strong, it's too quick, it's too convenient, and even though it is a master plant, just like lavender, just like dandelions are master plants, these medicinal plants that have a lot of upside, but also, if you do too much of it, it's going to stop playing nice. Do you think that that people would be happier if they didn't rely on weed to be at the grocery store or talk to their wife or watch a movie?
I mean, if you need that, you got to, honestly, if you need that to make that, like bearable. Like, for example, a lot of people, they stop smoking weed. They realize, wait, I've been working this shitty job forever because it made it okay. It doled me down to the point where I'm like, okay, I'm okay working here. But the minute they stop smoking weed, it's like, oh my God, I have really, set the bar low, and I've settled for less. And so if you need to depend on anything, I think you got a problem. You should really need no crutches. If anything, crutches are making you go slow, right? You take those crutches off, you can run. The thing about weed is, I saw a wonderful illustration of every drug possible on like a poster, and quadrants of like stimulants and antidepressants, and each extreme on each four corners, and dead smack in the middle was marijuana. It can be an hallucinogen, it can be an antidepressant, it can be a stimulant, it can be all these things.
Hmm.
It is a master plan, and it's a wonderful thing, and I love it. And so, as much as people say, "Oh, you hate weed, you shit on weed," I actually love it. I'm just saying I've struggled with it myself, and I had the era where I was addicted to the pins when the pins first came out. The convenience, the no smell, the no dealing with a lighter, no ashes, no bong, no nothing, just stealth, And if you can ghost it, you can do it anywhere. And so I've had many eras where I have my own journey of, okay, it is too much, it is too strong, it is too available. Um, Again, like I used it. Most people I think are using it for escapism, and in my specific example, escapism of pain. Now, for people that have chronic pain issues, this is one of the reasons I got into the whole float tank journey. That really was a multidimensional tool in many respects that helped me on so many levels. But physically, it really worked really well for somebody who was in a chronic neck and back pain issue. Marijuana went hand in hand with it when I was doing all that floating and lived at the float center. Great tool. It's superior to alcohol, superior to I believe pharmaceuticals. So if you are without any possibility of doing any better than weed, if you can't heal your problems, and if you cannot, you know, it's the best alternative to actually, if you can't heal the ultimate. Because my whole thing is get to the core of the issue. Stop wearing the band-aid forever and heal what's under the band-aid, so we don't have to keep using these crutches and these band-aids. And so for me, I had this epiphany, this final like round with quitting weed. I'm like, why is this so difficult? You know, and it was for me. I realized I was always coming back to it because physical pain, my neck, and all this. It was like, okay, well, I'd rather be stoned and be a pleasant person than be angry and in pain and just a brutal person to deal with because I'm physically in pain. So by addressing the neck issue, I really did a lot of work. I've gotten to the point where it's manageable without weed. And so a lot of people, and it's not always physical escapism. That is my specific example. And in addressing the physical nature
Hmm.
of what was bringing me back into that arena, I was able to say, you know what? Okay, this isn't worth it for me anymore. I'd rather have more money. I'd rather not be running around trying to find more weed, always smoking and coughing and blah blah blah. Get at the core issue. A lot of people don't want to do that, and a lot of people it is mental escapism. They have a supposedly a mundane existence. They have a shitty job, or they have a ton of issues psychological that maybe they've been abused. Work on that. And I'm not saying it can be healed ultimately. I want to believe that everyone can be healed, whether it's physically, mentally. I really believe that. A lot of people will say, no, my pain is chronic and there's just no way around it. Well, then you don't believe in miracles. Um, but I do believe if you really put the effort in, you can get to a point where you may not need it. Now, but if you can't, if I'm wrong, then yes, I think weed is a great tool for most people. But the people that bitch and complain online, they have issues, and I talk to them and I start just saying, what's really going on? Why are you using this? And 99 times out of 100, it's some form of escapism.
Yeah. Anything that you do every day that you rely on to feel good is worth analyzing. And I would take that as far, even, as food and water, which is as about extreme a take as you can possibly
Oh,
imagine.
sugar's the
Sugar.
epidemic of the this century and the last, for sure.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah. If you rely on it to feel like yourself, then it's worth exploring, and it takes a lot of courage to inspect that, and it takes time to inspect that, and it takes energy to inspect that. And one of the themes that keeps coming up over the course of now 500 or 350 some odd episodes of this podcast is, in order to make changes in your life, you have to develop an energy to be able to expend to address it, right?
Yeah.
So, right, like if you want to take a look at your mental health, you've got to actually charge the battery up, charge the physical battery up, so that you can expel some energy to analyze it, to look at it. If you want to address your nutrition, if you want to address your addictions or predilections or even negative thought forms in yourself, you've got to have gas in the tank to do that work. And it's tough to do at 5:30 after a work day whether you have kids or not, it's dark out, and it's like, okay, now I'm gonna, after a hard day's work, now I'm gonna take a look at my life, and
Totally.
right, and
My saying is this: it's like you're laying in a ditch, right? And it's easier to continue to lay in the ditch than it is to put forth effort to crawl out of the ditch, and this is why
right,
people remain in the ditch.
right, and the benefits, the fruits of that labor is essential to a quality of life, because what the fuck else are you doing if not trying to improve, trying to get better, smarter, sexier, more thoughtful, more connected with God, more present for your family? If you're not doing that work, then you're just existing. You're just going through the fucking motions, and a lot of people are stuck in this wheel, this rat race
Broken
of
record.
just over and over. It's probably started when you were, 14 or 15 and you got your first job. For me, it was at a golf course as a caddy, and it's like, oh, I work now. Shit. All right. Well, I guess
Yeah.
I'm in for, I'm going to clock in till the day I die. That has obviously changed for me as I, got into entrepreneurship and haven't had a boss since 2011. But if you're not doing that work, then you're not really living. You're not on the hero's journey at all. You're just sort of like getting whooped around by the tide. Only dead
Mhm.
fish go with the flow. And I think it's worth doing whatever you can to summon all the strength that you have to take a look at your life. And that's why that's why I'm a life coach. That's why I work with
Yeah.
high level people all around the world, is because there's more work to do. There's more curriculum. There's more dragons to slay. There's another journey to go on. And I think by watching you communicate to the world, whether it's nofap or weed, or whether it's your spiritual practice, there that communication to, like, I'm interested in my own life and I have questions for myself, and I'm just going to keep asking those questions and see where it goes.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think the biggest issue across the board for people around the world is lack of consciousness. It's unconsciousness. Forgive them, Father; they know not what they're doing. Which is why I'm again a big proponent of the float tank. The float tank personally brought me. I didn't meditate at all. I was interested in it for years. But the float tank, laying there in that water, brought me into body consciousness, body awareness, brought me into a higher state of consciousness where I could step back and, for the first time in my life, really look at the situation and say, "Oh, wait a minute. First of all, I didn't know this was wrong. Second of all, let's do something about it." So I would say most people's problem is they're not even aware that they have a problem. And then when they do confront it, it's like, okay, yeah, now I have to expend the effort. I've got to step out of my comfort zone. I've got to crawl out of this ditch, which is going to take considerable effort sometimes to get to that point where I want to be. Because most people are laying in a ditch. They're, asleep at the wheel, laying in a ditch, unconscious to most of the stuff that's going on in their life, running on autopilot, no fault of their own. That's what awakening is, right? So that's why I still at this point, as much as I've had a back and forth with the float tank, and I've never changed my position on it. It's just the world's changed, and that's a whole nother topic. But I recommend self-awareness, self-examination, and that can unravel so many things. And if you pull out the right string, the whole thing falls apart. So my big push still is for, and again, which is why psychedelics is another powerful tool of self-examination. So I still am a proponent of psychedelics, particularly mushrooms and LSD. LSD is much harder to get these days. If you can get it set and setting, I recommend. If you have a predisposition to schizophrenia, maybe stay away. But the float tank is 1,000 pounds of Epsom salt. You're the master at that as well, Mr. Float Seattle. But it's a powerful tool that, unfortunately, over the past few years, I've seen so many float centers close down.
Yeah.
I had the opportunity to buy one not too long ago, and it was just financially, the way the world's going right now, it's so hard to make that a sustainable business model. But I do, please go out there and support your local float centers. I know it's going to be upwards sometimes of $100 for a session, depending on your market. I'm wearing the Float Madison shirt today.
Nice.
That's Greg down in I lived in Wisconsin for 2 years, and I went to all the float centers in the Midwest, and no offense to anybody else, but he runs the best operation and one of the nicest, gentlest souls you'll ever meet. and affordable. He has some of the most affordable prices as well. So if you're in the Midwest, go to Madison, Wisconsin, and check out that. But float tank, find a way to self-examine. If you can't get to a float tank, meditation. This whole journey started for me with YouTube hypnosis videos, YouTube self-hypnosis videos. Find one that works for you. Now, I was getting into this, like, I want to be like Bob Proctor and, be rich and successful and Tony Robbins type stuff, but it led down this rabbit hole of spirituality and, the truth, right? So that's why I'm like you. I'm hungry for the truth, and even if it costs me friends, if it costs me money, I need to know the truth at all costs. So
Yes.
I keep pushing.
Yes. Yeah, it is going to cost you. It's going to cost you your friends. It's going to cost you time. It's going to cost you money. It's going to cost you opportunities. But it is the most important work. And just to piggyback off what you've said, if you don't have a lot of energy, you don't have a ton of time, you are curious about yourself and your own personal development and how your mind works, float tanks are the fastest, legalist way to do that introspection, because in 60 minutes in a float tank, you're going to have some answers, but you're also going to have the right questions that come out. Why am I like this? Why do I think like this? What's going on for me? Why am I in this relationship? Why am I in this job? Why does my back hurt so much? And
Absolutely. That's what unlocked the whole neck situation. I'm laying in this float tank, completely relaxed, and 1,000 pounds of warm Epsom salts, and my whole body's jacked up. I'm like, I never noticed one side is way higher than the other, and that just led me down this journey to heal my neck and back issues. But it's been a long road, and there's been a lot of detours and stoppages, but it's been worth every minute of it. And yeah, the float tank, you're right, the most powerful legal. I mean, you're going to get yogi type meditation in a cave. Guy's been in a cave for 20 years. You're going to get that. I mean, I'm not bullshitting.
yeah.
You know how it is. I'm preaching to the choir here. If I had an infinite amount of money, if money was not an issue, I'd be putting float tanks in airports.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. We barked up that tree. We tried to get we were nearly signing a contract to put a float center on campus at Microsoft.
Mm-hmm.
We were talking to the sort of director of their, health program and benefits program, and we were going to put 2 tanks on campus in Microsoft. Ultimately, didn't do it, but we talked to SeaTac Airport as well. Yeah, it is tough to run that business. The margins are low, still very
it's personality driven too. It really is. Like the person that is running that ship,
yeah.
It's going to dictate whether it's a success or not. Because if you don't have a centered person that's one of the reasons why I don't want to do it anymore, is I become less wanting to deal with the public. And you got to be really good at dealing with every personality type, the apprehensive to the gung-ho guy coming in on mushrooms, right? I've had both sides of the spectrum. And then we did it during COVID too, which is what caused, again, the business partner. We had a great thing going in 2019 when we started, and then the thing happened, and then we went different ways politically, and the business, once I left, it's like Steve Jobs dying. Apple's doing pretty good, but it's not the same leadership, or Walt Disney dying, right? Or some shit like that. You need a charismatic leader who can work with the public. And I'm convinced that float centers live and die by the guy running it, or the woman, whoever's running it.
Yeah. The Float Seattle locations have grown since I sold in 2018 at 2 locations. They've grown to 5, and some of the other float centers in this area, all of the other float centers in this area, have now either sold to Float Seattle or closed their doors. Mm-hmm. So those guys are still doing such a good job. I went in a couple of weeks ago with my family, and we did sauna and cold plunge. We didn't float, but we spent probably 2 hours inside the float center.
I love both of those modalities too. Definitely, especially sauna. I'm a huge sauna guy.
Yeah. I want to change directions a little bit, because I don't have very many people to talk to about this sort of stuff that I'm interested in. And so this is really just you and me hanging out. Are you familiar with